John. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, sitting in my car. So my house is getting renovated. So here I am.
And I was giving John a hard time and everything. We got a special guest. He's an Army veteran. I accidentally put Marine on there. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. I'll forgive you.
And this is Brian Blalock. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
Doing good. So
I'm doing all right.
you were a medic in the Army, right?
I was in a medic. I joined the Army. I was actually in the Army twice, if you can believe that. I joined in November of '88, and I was discharged in the summer of '91. So I was the medic during the Persian Gulf.
My goodness, I don't know how in the hell you did that. See, on board ship, I'm probably going to make a few people mad, but I'm just going to say this: on board ship,
Uh-huh.
they're corpsmen, but to a lot of guys, we just said, "Hey, you need to go check out and get checked out by the pecker checker."
Well, yeah, we unfortunately we had to do that too.
And
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, guys, because it really, truly, medics in the military to me are veterans' best friends, especially the Marines. The Marines love their corpsmen.
hmm
And I mean, everything that y'all have gone to. And that's what I want to get into. I want to get into, what year did you join in?
I joined November of 1988.
Okay.
I went to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Did AIT at Fort Sam Houston. Then got stationed in April of '89 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, First Brigade, HHC, First 327 Infantry. Mhm.
Badass,
Then,
man.
then I got out of when did I get out? The summertime, May. My memory is slipping. Forgive me. May or June of '91. Re-entered college. Uh, did ROTC, got a commission, went back in as an infantry officer, thinking that I was going to stay in forever, but that didn't work out. And I got commissioned August of '95.
Yeah.
hmm
So you were enlisted and then went officer.
Correct.
And I
Correct.
tell you, everybody loves that though. They like the officers that first were enlisted because them officers really understood more
Yeah,
how
we did.
how it worked.
We
But
did. Mhm.
where all were you during the Persian Gulf during Desert Storm?
Okay, so we flew into an airfield. I can't remember where it's Dhahran Riyadh. Then we drove to the sandbox, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. We were stationed near King Fahd Military City, which we were the sister element was the Air Force. And don't ask me what Air Force units it was. I just know that they did have fighter jets. We're 101st is traditionally light infantry back then. So uh, a war like the Persian Gulf is meant for big bullets. It's meant for battleships because you can fire, what do you call them, rounds
Yeah, rounds.
okay, rounds. It's meant for a heavy tank warfare. Meant for close air support. Helos at the time, I think they had Apaches were coming in. Cobras were being phased out. Light infantry didn't have a whole lot of an effect unless you're going to insert us into small towns. But at that particular time, if you remember, George Bush really wasn't going to send us into any towns to do any real door kicking. So everything was basically pool table fighting. So we didn't see a whole lot. Yes, when we did get fired on by the Iraqis. They tried to fire on the airfield when we were back in our garrison area. Then they realized that they couldn't get them, so then they tried to get us, and they almost got us too. I can laugh now.
Yeah, back then, yeah, I guess as a young guy, as a medic, you got to be thinking of all the movies you saw with the medic guys. This, like, damn, is that going to be like this? I mean, because our war was different. It was sand. I mean,
Well,
mine was water, y'all's was sand, but it was sand. That's a whole different war.
well, the whole thing that at that time, uh, 90, 91, the only thing that we had as far as any type of depiction of war were most of the E8s and E9s were from the Vietnam era. And of course, they were bringing with them a lot of the heartfelt sorrow because we all kind of understood how Vietnam went. And so it was a very, very serious moment, as any war should be. But I think they had something inside themselves that they were gonna. They came at us a whole lot harder. We had to have all weapons clean all the time. Just have you everything wired tight because I think they wanted before they retired. I think they wanted something to give them to smile about.
Right.
Before they retired. So
Now, when you were talking earlier,
Mhm.
a couple of days ago, you were talking about an incident that happened when you went down the street. Do you remember you talking
the
about that? I want
the
you.
uh, the the AT-4 accident,
Yes,
the rocket
yes,
launcher.
yes.
Okay, I can't remember the exact date it was, but I can remember the medical platoon. We were all grouped up. We had I think it was an E7. He was no, he was a warrant officer. Excuse me. Who was he was a special force warrant officer, but he was our PA. So he was kind of like the head medic. So anyway, he was giving us a class. So anyway, we heard we were all grouped up together, kind of relaxed a little bit. We heard two booms at that particular time. So we didn't know if the Iraqis, we didn't understand how war worked at that time. I understand we're like 19, 20, 21 years old. This is the first conflict that major conflict that the United States had been in. I think the major conflict since Vietnam. So we really didn't know what was the forward line of troops, what was the rear. We didn't have a good grasp of it. So we thought that the Iraqis were coming over the hill, coming to get us. And my question was, how in the hell did they get past all these jets and Apaches and tanks to get in to get us? But what it was it wasn't the Iraqis attacking. It was more or less just an accident upon ourselves. So at that particular time, you heard anything weird, you went ahead and donned on your protective mask. Well, we heard a lot of screaming and yelling as we came out of our tent. They gave us the signal for all clear. Then they started yelling medic. So we took our masks off, our protective masks off, and they started pointing. And so as we were running in the direction that we were pointing, I remember thinking to myself, okay, something really big happened. Am I ready for this? So the first thing we came upon was the flak vest. They were similar to Vietnam flak vests at the time. Half of it was burned off, and right in front of me was a human being's insides. I'm guessing they were the intestines. I didn't look to see if there was anything else there, but it was very clear. So we didn't see the human being though. So whoever got hit, they got evacuated out fast. But I think they found out later that gentleman was killed.
Wow, man.
So they yeah. Uh, what had happened was an E5 sergeant was showing his squad how to unlock all the safety mechanisms of an AT-4 rocket launcher. Do you know what an AT-4 rocket launcher is? I don't know if they even still use them. The 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 closest thing. Do you know what a law anti-tank rocket launcher is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so but these you don't have to extend it; it's already extended. And so it's built for light armored vehicles. So apparently, this E5 was showing his squad or his squad how to, I guess, demonstrating it for training purposes. Unwittingly unlocked all the safety mechanisms. Someone was standing behind the backblast area.
No,
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and so you understand what I'm saying. So when he hit the
I do.
trigger,
Yeah.
the flame came out, and apparently he was standing like right on top of it. So the flame burned the flak vest off and his inner organs. The round apparently traveled through a tent. It was probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you've been over there, you know how hot and dry it is. So nobody wants to be in direct sunlight. So everybody was kind of laying down. It hit somebody's rucksack Inside the rucksack was a Claymore mine. Okay, I can't make
Oh
this stuff up.
my goodness.
I can't make this stuff up. But the best part about it is because you know how a Claymore mine works. When it hit, it sprays. But because everybody was down so low, most people didn't get hit. It sprayed up and out. Some people did get hit. So when we got into the tent, guys had gotten hit in the back, the foot, the legs. I don't think anybody got hit in the face. But the guy that we worked on, he was laid out prone, face down, wrapped him up, talked to him, put an IV in him. Our captain, who was a doctor, came in. So that was the first realization, and it strangely enough, it didn't bother me, and it didn't bother me because when you train so much to do something, and then when you do it, you kind of the training goes into effect, and you just kind of push everything aside. So that was the most graphic stuff I saw at that particular time in my life. Didn't really bother me, but again, this is real. War is real. It's not a game. So
Right, exactly.
mhm.
You're right. And that's one thing about it is, see, so I couldn't imagine how that E5 felt. I couldn't imagine what happened to his ass or anything
So
like that because he's in
Um,
charge. He should have looked
right,
around.
correct, correct.
But I promise you,
normally,
go ahead, John.
well, I was just saying, normally when you go to shoot something like it's, the normal response is backblast area
Right.
all clear.
Yeah,
And clearly he or she didn't know that or didn't say that and didn't check. And
hmm,
holy crap, you
There's
know.
yeah,
there is no way on God's green earth that you see something like that. That's somebody's insides burned up like that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
from an E5's fault, from our own guy's fault. But see,
yeah.
that's why they didn't let Kevin play with buttons. I'm telling you, if I saw a button, I was like, "What the hell does this thing do?" And, I was always the guy. If I pressed something, I was the one that was, they all knew who did it. Like,
Yeah.
no, Simon, don't touch this. Simon, don't touch that. No, Simon.
Well, it's a running joke with through all the branches. Uh, the Air Force has a technical manual, so they'll try to find out how to do something, and they'll read the manual. The Navy, they'll open up the manual and they'll start doing stuff as hitting the buttons as they're reading the manual.
That's right.
The Army will probably, well, the Army or the Marines, I guess, will just throw the manual out, use it for toilet paper, and just start hitting buttons and figure out how it works. But that's the running joke
Yeah,
with the Army.
Man,
pretty much.
I tell you, I'm sorry for everybody out there that's a civilian, not in the military. I wasted a lot of your taxpayer dollars. I promise you all that. I was like, I remember that on there we call them female ends and male ends to our refueling rigs. And this male end, it had this thing. It said, I didn't read the writing on it. I was like, I wonder what this little thing does. So I press it, and all these things popped down. I was like, that is cool. And the first thing it says is, do not press button. I was like, oh shit. And then I remember the chief walking up to me and he was like, what did you do? And I told him. He's like, Simon, it says clearly right there. I was like, son of a bitch, it sure does. So luckily we were on a supply ship, so we had another one. I mean, this thing was huge. I mean, you couldn't
Uh-huh.
pick, two people can't pick this thing. It'd take about 8 people. Man, we deep sixed that. My captain caught me. Ooh, I got in a lot of trouble for that. Ooh, I'm telling you,
What?
man, if somebody was going to jack it up and mess it up, it was me.
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
saying.
I think everybody
Well,
around their 19, 20, 21 years old, trust me, you weren't the only one. Trust me on that. You
But
weren't.
but
You
that
weren't.
but that's the one thing that I can honestly say is they trusted us for a
Mhm.
whole bunch of stupid stuff. Uh,
well, I mean, we're young, and typically the NCOs, the officers will give the orders. The NCOs go and make stuff happen, and then they have what they call the E4 Mafia crew will go out.
Yeah.
Right,
if
exactly.
if the NCOs are trying to pass along this information, and you can't keep eyes on everybody, and yeah, stuff goes a little haywire sometimes.
Well, well, well. Another thing that kind of shocks me too is why we were out there. We didn't really realize what the Army guys went through and what the Marines went through by being on land with us being until you see like out in the distance a dust storm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they're nasty, nasty,
Yeah.
nasty, nasty.
And,
It is.
and,
It
and
is.
I just could not imagine going through that. I mean, I'm sure that while y'all out there, y'all probably went through a few of them, right?
Every time my buddy went out to do his laundry, then we got a sandstorm. It was like a guarantee.
I would have
Every
told him to
time, I
stop.
swear, every time. I mean, I was, combat engineer unit. We would have. It was like you could see it coming across the desert.
Yeah, you
Everybody
can.
hopping in and
You can
hopping
see
in
it.
and tying up our trucks to the tents, and making sure our shit don't go down the desert floor.
I
Because
mean,
we
but
saw a lot of tents going down desert floor.
okay, so as a medic, and y'all are out there, and y'all, I mean, y'all had EMS trucks, or were y'all just like in Humvee style?
We had what's called FLAs. I don't know if they still use it. So it would remind you of it's a Humvee, but it's like a box on the back.
Okay,
Yeah.
And at that time, since desert warfare was, no one had anticipated desert warfare in '90. All of our trucks were still green. And so
Oh
everything that
yeah.
we had was basically still green. Well, I mean, our BDUs were tan, but every other vehicle was basically green that we had.
so a big old target while you're out in the
Yeah, and
desert.
plus, if you open it had a Red Cross panel on it, and we were all instructed, do not open that Red Cross panel because you will get shot.
And see, like the medics, medics on our ship. I mean, I remember one time we were uh, sending cargo over, and they yelled avast me, stop. Well, I thought he meant for all of us to stop. Apparently, the guy on the other ship that was running a winch, and I had this. It was a phone line
Mhm.
run over there. It peeled all the skin off of my hands.
Wow.
And I tell
Ooh.
you what, I give that's where I give the corpsmen because they're smart. They don't hold you down. They go and tell you get the 6 biggest guys down in the boiler room to come up and hold them down. I'm like, why? And man, let me tell you, they poured iodine on my hands.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I cried a little bit. I had
yeah,
tears. I wasn't screaming for my mom
yeah.
until they broke out this really big wire brush. And I
Oh
remember,
no,
I
they did
remember,
not.
oh yeah, I bullshit you not. And they started scrubbing my hands. I then was begging for my mama.
Wow, wow, wow.
And but the
Hmm.
funny thing was, it wasn't even a few weeks. My hands uh, cleared up, and
Mhm.
I mean but they don't make you stop working. I look like a guy that had 2 big ass Q-tips on my hand. And it was a Q-tip, and
So,
my boatswain painted one red, one green, and so I was the signalman. They
hey,
they always kept you working.
hey, so what was this thing that you pressed the button on? It went poof. What was that exactly?
It was a male oil rig. It was really big, and what it does is when it goes in to the female oil rig, it latches in. I press a button to where it opens up the latch without it going in, and so it wouldn't work. It wouldn't go in. It wouldn't go out anymore. So it's broke.
Huh. Huh.
Whoops. So you got it's a one shot deal, huh?
Yeah, it's a one shot deal.
Well, when you press the button, it says don't. That's like telling a kid not to stick their finger in
In the
stick
socket.
I
Yeah,
did that shit
exactly. And I'm
too.
like, really?
I did that too. Don't put that piece
We
of
all
foil.
probably.
Don't put that piece of foil in that light switch. Okay. Yeah.
So tell me something. How was you say you're on a supply ship?
Yes.
I can honestly tell you, I really don't understand how the Navy works. How I, you move with the carrier. You all move
As
with in a fleet.
well,
Is that how it works?
yeah. We go in with a fleet, and then supply ships will take off and go hit port, load up cargo, meet back up with the fleet, and it looks like a line of cars. One,
Mm,
I'll do it like a line of cars. The ship's going here. I'll go sideways. Ships. The other ship lines up. They go the exact same speed, knots, uh, and it's probably about 12 to 15 knots. And we shoot lines over, and then they hook cables up. We just start sending cargo back and forth, and we also do
wow.
them by helo. It's a really neat, and I
Okay.
mean, but this was done back probably back in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
that's whoever invented it was a
Do,
smart son of a gun.
do you do that? I mean, how do you do the same thing like when subs come in? I mean,
Nope,
how do you
nope.
resupply subs?
I don't know.
Or do they?
I've never done a sub. I have
Oh,
no idea about it. I would not want to be on a sub. I'm telling you right now, no freaking way do I want to be underwater that freaking long.
You don't want to go in the water and breathe that recycled air.
Right. And I definitely don't want to be, like I tell everybody, I didn't want to go in the army. I didn't want to get shot at.
eh,
I didn't want to go in the
eh, can
Marines. I didn't
y'all
want to get shot at.
Well, I'm going to
can
tell
y'all
you.
see my can y'all see my bald head? It's getting dark. I don't know. Can
Yeah,
y'all still see me or
I
no?
can
I can
see
still
you.
see you.
Yeah, you're still ugly.
Okay, we're good then.
Well,
Well, I knew that was, but I mean,
What were
Mark.
you going
the
to ask,
whole
Brian?
thing. I didn't want to go to the Navy. I remember I was talking to a naval recruiter, and you remember the old "It's not just a job; it's an adventure" commercials.
Yeah.
They
And
lied.
so I was like, oh, and you see all the sailors going to Japan or going to whatever country. And I'm thinking, man, that's cool. So I went and talked to a naval recruiter, and he was like, really, really, pushing it up. And I'm like, man, I'm excited. I said, but I got a question. How do you, go out across the seas, across the world, and then get back in 30 days? Because I didn't understand how the concept of how the military went. And he said that you'll take a 6 or 9 month tour. Okay, tour, you're talking to me at that age, 19 years old. Tour is enjoying yourself, nothing that you have to do. Okay. But I forgot that's a pseudo word for, whatever you have to do, it's called a tour. And so that's when I began to realize that you're going to be on that ship with a whole bunch of dudes, and you'll get to whatever port every, I don't know, 3 4 weeks. I said, yeah, I like girls too much. I need a girlfriend.
But
So
it is
I
funny.
can't do
Yeah, it's really
that.
funny you say that because I'm going to make sure I say this properly because I know one of some of my female shipmates are on here,
Yeah.
but when we've been to Thailand, we've been to Japan, we've been to Bali, we've been to Australia, we've been to Korea. We've been all over the Pacific.
Yeah. Yeah.
But uh, our ship was different because we got to hit port a port all the time to load up. And
Uh-huh.
then when we steam
uh,
back, we'd be like, "Hey, in 2 weeks we're going to be in Australia, but we're only going to be there 5 days." But
Uh.
somehow, when we were in the Philippines, during the volcano, our ship kept breaking down. So
oh, imagine
magically,
that. That was just by chance.
it's
Oh,
just true. We kept
It
breaking
conveniently
down.
broke down. I got it.
and, and,
wow.
it's
And
really
everybody was very relaxed about every fifth day or so.
no. Let me tell you, you do not want to break down out at sea. It is hot.
Right.
It is smelly down
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
birds. It sucks, and
Right.
you got to eat cold cuts, and then we had to eat MREs. I don't know. Them were
Oh,
better.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You do understand that that's pretty much all the Army eats is
That's
MREs,
your
right?
fault. You know,
Yes.
I
Yes.
like
Yes. It
staying
is.
in a line where they serve my food, and I get to go sit down a
Uh-huh.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah. We didn't really get that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, we did. It's not like we had AC units in our freaking pup tents.
No.
Jackass.
No,
Hold on.
it didn't.
People who are on here, Jason, I hope you're still on here. Most sailors will contest. Our AC units did not work as good as you people think Because let me tell you, when I lay down, I explain my kids do not understand how I kick my feet up when I sleep at night. My feet are kicked straight up when I lay on my stomach. That's because when I slept in the middle bunk or the lower bunk, and the bunk above you was just, it was all metal. So when it was warm, you put your feet on the bottom. You just kick them up and touch that bottom,
Oh, okay.
the bottom of your feet to that upper rack, and
All right.
it kept brought your body temperature down. No, them
Ah.
burthens, we our burden was 99 guys in a burden. I mean, go look at a Navy burden. It's not enjoyable at all.
Yeah, that's yeah. I
Yeah, no,
can't.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, not my thing, not my thing. I'm good. I mean, we didn't have a lot of females in engineer units, at least not the ones that I was in. I mean, I think there are probably more out there now. But now, if you're in a medical unit, there was lots of women. You know, so
Well,
it
well,
was. I
well.
mean,
Hold on. In certain now, remember now, I was in an infantry unit. I was a medic. We had a medical platoon, but then when we went out into the field, each medic would be assigned inside the infantry unit. And so you're probably thinking of. So we were always forward. You ever saw the movie Hamburger Hill?
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay, so you remember the guy Doc?
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so Doc, the way as a matter of fact, that unit was I think third in the 187, so it actually was a real unit based out of Fort Campbell, where I was in Vietnam. But anyway, so we go out with all the infantry line units. Now that's so it's direct combat. Combat, you're probably thinking of combat support or what we call combat service support. So combat
Mm.
support, there could be a medical detachment with females, but at that time, and I don't know women's roles in the military now, but they're not going to be forward. They're going to at that time they're going to be rear, so
And,
they ain't getting shot at.
and
Yeah.
did you ever jump out of an airplane, Brian?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
What the hell is wrong with y'all?
Oh, I loved it. Oh, I
Are
loved
you
it. I
kidding
loved it.
me?
Oh, I loved it.
Y'all are
I loved it.
all y'all crazy. Yeah. Why would you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
You want to know the truth?
Yeah, the
I
adrenaline.
want to see if I want to know if the parachute could open.
Oh,
I
son.
want no
Oh my God.
You got a reserve, man.
But okay,
I wanted to see if the parachute was really going to open.
but okay. So if anybody's listening, and they can, when anybody's listening, and if they knew, there was a ship that would dock in Bahrain. But it was an R&R ship.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was
You
that?
had an R&R ship.
Yeah, that I
I've
mean,
heard of those.
the Army guys would go there, Marines, Navy guys.
Really?
Yeah.
I've
I
heard
didn't
of
even
an
know there
R&R
was
ship.
such a thing.
I've never seen one, and I
I-
don't know what it looks like, but I've heard of one.
it looks like a big ass Navy ship. Yeah, that's what it does. But it's R&R. And if
Well, wouldn't
anybody,
it be a bitch to be assigned to that, huh?
boy,
Wouldn't that be a
yeah, I
tough
mean,
gig?
so if anybody has ever been on an R&R ship, come on this show because I have some questions about that. Really good questions. But now, when you got out, we're going to kind of go back a little bit. So when you got out, you know, how did you start feeling once you got out of the military?
Okay. I got out, and again, I can't remember. It was probably May or June.
Okay.
I had a family reunion that summer, and so got back, came back to the world. Everybody was on cloud nine, parades everywhere. Actually, we did a parade in Nashville. It didn't actually hit me at that particular time, or maybe it did, and I just didn't see it. But I remember sometime that summer, my mother remarked that that I had changed it a little bit. When you're in any type of stressful environment, whether you're on a ship, whether you're in the military, anything that you're doing, you're going to change a little bit, and sometimes you get a little bit more short-tempered. I re-entered college at Armstrong State College down in Savannah, Georgia. It's no longer exists now. It's part of Georgia Southern. but I remember sometime around October is when it really hit me. I got extremely fatigued every day at 1 p.m. and I don't know why it was 1 p.m. And I mean, when I got fatigued, I don't mean like, hey, I need to stop, slow down. I mean, I literally had to lay down or I was going to fall down somewhere between 12:30 and 1 p.m. And sometimes I laid straight on the sidewalk. I was in college, so sometimes I lay in the library and I lay down between the book aisles and put my head up on my book bag. At that time, I think we found somebody gave me a telephone number and we started talking about what at that time was they didn't really title it yet, but we found out later it was called Persian Gulf syndrome. Didn't know what it was. I remember talking to somebody and he said that I was suffering from jet lag. At the time, I didn't know what the word jet lag meant. So he said, "Oh, yeah, when you come into get from one time zone or another, your body's still on that other time zone." And I said, I came back this past summer, and now it's in the fall. How long does it take for this jet lag to exist? And he said, "Oh, it depends." And I kept asking him, "It depends on what?" And he never gave me a clear answer. Probably, I think my buddy who was in Washington D.C. Called me and asked me. He said, "Blaylock, is anything going on with you? Have you been experiencing anything?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just a little bit fatigued, and apparently I'm forgetful." Apparently, he had lost a lot of weight, and he was already a skinny guy. So I think it was what less than a year later, I start finding out that people were losing their hair. Some people apparently died. Um, Something I guess in later years, I guess people were having children, and maybe there was some type of birth defects with the children. I don't know if they were tracing it back to the nerve agent tablets that we'd taken. So that was with me. I think I got the very light experience of it. I was extremely fatigued, and I was forgetful. I mean, that first semester, I struggled to remember the simplest things. But apparently my situation wasn't as severe as others, so they just kind of put me on a waiting list, and I never really pursued it after that.
Well, yeah. See, and that's the part that's the one thing because back then they'd either say it's all in your head. Shit, they still say it's all in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
And I I didn't experience the tiredness until probably about 10 years later. But
Hmm.
I bled out my ears, my nose when I went
Hmm.
poop, and but they could never. Luckily, all that happened while I was in the service. When I
Hmm.
got out, they were still. I mean, I'm telling you, I had more tubes up my nose, into my stomach,
Hmm.
and I mean that. But they could not figure it out. And
Hmm.
now they're like, okay, so they checked me for Crohn's, they checked me for immune deficiencies, everything, and then finally it took them 25 years to figure it out. 25 years to figure out
Hmm.
what was going on with me. And let me tell
Hmm.
you, I work every day, but if I don't take B12 shots every other week, I'm
Yeah.
exhausted.
You're right, 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 right.
Exhausted. And then
Hmm.
also with like my feet used to burn. My feet don't burn anymore, but they go numb now. It's more like a numbing tingling. But
Hmm.
now it's shooting all the way up to my hip and on my
Hmm.
right side, and I'm just like, man, come on, they need to figure out what happened to us. It One doctor says serum, one somebody says mustard, somebody says, it was PTAB, somebody says it was anthrax, one as oil rigs, and like Wade was explaining to us one time, we really didn't suffer from burn pits like Iraqi freedom guys did. We
Hmm.
suffered from the oil wells and from the chemical war.
Okay, okay. So now that I mean, think about it. You're breathing petroleum.
That's
I
right.
mean, on no level can you even say. I mean, that's direct compensation right there.
Right.
I mean, you're never gonna get that out of your system.
And what's funny is, so somebody wrote in one of the Gulf War sites. He says, I wasn't. He goes, I was in the Navy. I wasn't a combat vet, and nothing like the Army guys. But how is it I'm experiencing the same stuff y'all are? I was like, that's simple. We were all exposed to the exact same stuff.
Could be the
Well,
nerve agent tablets.
what we've talked. I mean, whether it's the stuff that we inhaled or ingested while we're there,
Mm.
or we've had many conversations that perhaps it had to do with you know, the injections that we were given. I mean,
Yeah, could
there's
be.
too many variables.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't,
right.
we can't put our finger on any
Well, I mean,
one thing.
what 100%. I do believe P-tabs. I believe the anthrax shot. I do believe that right there alone.
Yeah, could be.
What was toxic because
Oh, of course.
they knew that it was experimental.
Did,
But when
were you guys forced to take that stuff?
Well, yeah. Okay, remember now, this is 1989. This isn't today. If the
Right.
military told you this is what you're going to eat, drink, get injected,
Right.
you didn't question it. You just did it.
Right, because we
Yeah,
trusted our
true.
government. That's right. Thank you.
Sure.
Mhm.
And you know what? And that's a great point because now they gave the servicemen an option. You either take this
Really?
or get out during COVID. They gave them one or the other option.
Really?
If you didn't
No,
take
they
it,
gave us
you
an
got out.
option. They said either you take this or you go to the brig.
Well, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, that.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
in our time, right. But now, because I knew quite a few people in my hometown who opted out not to get the vaccine and they got sent home. They were automatically
Really?
kicked out. And other than honorable discharge.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Everything.
Okay.
But
That
they
would-
gave you the option. They didn't give us option. They told my ass to line up.
Yeah. Okay, so you all in the Navy. So before you deployed, you did have to get a line up for your shots. Too.
Oh man. Why
Okay.
even while we were out there, we were like,
Okay.
you know, the
Now,
last
I
thing.
didn't see. We didn't get any. I don't recall getting any shots when we were in theater. Everything came beforehand. The only
Right,
thing I
right.
remember having when we landed, I remember they gave us the P-tabs. Now our unit didn't sit there and basically give us orders to take them. They say, here, you're supposed to take these every so often. And I took some. I couldn't tell you how many I took. They were more worried about it. Of course, I'm not even sure if we flew into Dhahran or it had to have been Dhahran as opposed to Bahrain, because Bahrain isn't that a separate? That's a little island, isn't it?
Right.
Bahrain. Yeah. Okay. So it had to have been Dhahran.
but-
Right.
I don't know.
But
I
I
could
think
have
most
that
everybody
screwed up.
flew into either Riyadh or Dhahran.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
I think
probably
most everybody
Dhahran.
flew in.
But like Jason,
and my memory just sucks. I can't remember.
and Jason's right.
Where were you stationed?
I was in Karlsruhe, Germany when we
Okay.
got the orders to go. So,
Okay.
I gotta say what Jason says on here because I'm reading the comments and I like what Jason says. Not everybody on the ship, everybody got vaccines, but not everybody took P-tabs. More people who took P-tabs, I think, who were going to be outside exposed. Because a lot of
Mhm.
guys down in the boiler room didn't come up, to work. They come up to get fresh air,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And so that's kind of how
Mhm.
the ships worked. But I mean, what I find more interested in, that I'm more interested in, is all the oil rigs that they had. Hundreds of oil rigs were on fire. I mean, hell, at nighttime, sometimes you go by them, you can feel the heat.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
mean, I remember it. I remember we went back after Desert Storm. It was over. We went back, did the volcano, all that. But we went back out there because the no-fly zone, Southern Watch, was kicking up again. And once it was weird, nice blue, pretty skies. But once we hit the Persian Gulf, it was a haze from the oil rigs. I mean, it was a haze. And I'm sitting there, I kept thinking, man, this is not good for our lungs. There's no way this can be
Exactly.
good to breathe this shit in. And, there's reports that he put sarin gas inside of the oil rig fires. But,
Mhm.
All of it's diluted. But over time, really, truly, Saddam wasn't a dumb guy. He was a very smart man.
No, he wasn't dumb at all. He wasn't dumb at all.
And that's so. I mean, that's why
We didn't.
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. We didn't catch. I don't know if it was our location because if you ever look at the Persian Gulf map and look at the very, very western flank, you'll see the 18th Airborne Corps, which was us, 101st, 82nd Airborne Division. At the time, the 24th Mech, which is now 3rd ID out of Fort Stewart, and the French. So we probably were the farthest from anything because we didn't know that anybody was going to set any oil wells on fire. But so so maybe that's why I have less things going on with me than maybe you do. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember because I talked. It was probably about I think number 20th episode. I think it was 21 or 22. I think, but the plum of smoke that was over a Southern Desert Storm was 1.6 million miles of toxic
Really?
air over all of us. So all of us were exposed.
Wow.
But some people's bodies are different than others. Like, I mean, but it seems like a lot of the guys on my ship and gals, we're all having the exact same problem. Mine just happened faster.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, were you all given mop gear to wear?
yeah, we were, but our chemical alarms went off, I think 3 times. But you don't have time to put that stuff on fast enough. I like shit, man. We're already dead. We're dead. Shit.
Did you now? I'm bad with names. Is it Brian?
Yeah.
Brian, yes.
Brian. Sorry, I'm bad with names. Now, Brian, did you guys have to go to MOP 4?
No, we never went to mop 4. The only time we even donned our protective masks, the AT4 accident, but also a chemical alarm did sound when we did a reconnaissance. So when we were at the Saudi Iraqi border, somehow, and I don't know, the Saudis and Iraqis before us, they just shoot at each other just for sport. Don't ask me why. And this is before the war ever started. It's just kind of like something that they were always doing. And so when we occupied this outpost, a chemical alarm did sound. Then I guess someone tried it again and it didn't sound. So we thought that maybe just the chemical alarm was just malfunctioning. Come to find out, we found out later when we got back to the United States that it was legit. So now we're wondering what were we exposed to, but obviously it didn't kill us. So we honestly don't know.
So if you really want to know, this is the way I tell anybody. If anybody's watching or anybody listens, y'all go watch the movie The Gulf War. It has Ted Danson in there. Have you seen that movie, Brian?
I have not.
I suggest you and your family sit and watch that.
Yeah, it's a pretty spot on movie.
It's called The Gulf War. Okay.
The Gulf War, and
when did it come out?
98.
98.
I think it was 98. So it's
98.
been out for a while.
I just watched it. Last month? When Wade told us, "Hey, have y'all seen this?" I was like, "No, man." I watched it. I was pissed. I was pissed by the end of that movie.
Why is that? What was going on with?
Because our government knew back then what we were exposed to, and they just brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. If you want to even go 20 years before that, Agent Orange.
Yeah, that's
people
right.
were finding out after the fact and dying from it. It's a chemical fertilizer. So
you're right, 100%. But
it's
but right now, Brian, thanks for coming on. Stay on for a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of what we call the after show where we can really say what we think and not get in trouble and everything. And and so if y'all want to catch that, y'all can go to YouTube. I suggest we're trying to get our YouTube page up. And this what it's about. It's about spreading awareness about Gulf War, illnesses. That's exactly what it's about. And I know there's a lot of researchers out there that's going on. I did a show, what was it, the Monday, not this Monday, but the Monday before at ErgoFlex. And I'm telling you, they got the equipment, man. I'm pushing it. I have no skin in the game because I believe their oxygen machine is one of the best things that we can literally get in for the Gulf War vets and every veteran. I mean, that 3 pieces of equipment, if you were to see it, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, everybody should be in on it. But I want to thank everybody for listening, and bless you, John. I want to thank
Bless you.
everybody for listening, and we will be back next Thursday, but we're going to go into that show. Y'all have a great night.